Welcome to the deep dive. Today, things might get a little, well, intense.
Intense is putting it mildly, right?
You could say that. We're diving headfirst into the world of courtroom sentencing.
The moment of truth, really.
And you, our amazing listeners, have sent us some truly gripping accounts of criminals facing the music. Let me tell you that the range of reactions is
Yeah.
absolutely wild.
It's a total roller coaster. You've got the gravity of the justice system, raw emotion, and often a glimpse into the psyche of someone who's done terrible things.
It's fascinating, right? We're talking everything from stone-cold indifference to complete and utter breakdowns. We even have a few cases where the courtroom became a stage for the totally unexpected.
And those unexpected moments, those are the ones that really get you thinking, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. It's like those reactions, however shocking or perplexing they might seem, can reveal a lot about human psychology.
Oh, absolutely. These aren't just isolated moments of drama. They give us a glimpse into coping mechanisms, personality disorders, maybe even legal strategies at play.
It's like a window into how people process these intense, life-altering situations.
Exactly. For example, you've got someone like Michael Madison, convicted of 3 murders. This is someone who seemed to almost, I don't know, revel in the courtroom drama, even going so far as to taunt the victims' families.
That's chilling. Like, he's totally detached from the gravity of his crimes.
Yeah.
What does that say about his mental state, his conscience?
Well, it's a classic example of what we see with psychopathic tendencies, a profound lack of empathy, remorse. The normal emotional responses, they're just absent.
It's like the guilt, the regret, it just doesn't register.
Exactly. They might even engage in these attention-seeking behaviors as a way to exert control over a situation where they ultimately have none.
So it's a form of manipulation, even as they're facing the ultimate consequence.
Precisely. Now, contrast that with Anthony Garcia, a former doctor, sentenced to death for 4 murders.
And his reaction was,
He pretended to sleep as a sentence was read.
wow, almost as if he couldn't even bear to face what was happening.
Exactly. And it's not just about avoiding an uncomfortable situation, right? This kind of avoidance behavior could point to a deeper inability to cope with the weight of his actions, a form of psychological self-preservation.
It's like his mind is trying to shield itself from the crushing reality of his situation.
Exactly. And it begs the question, is he truly indifferent, or is this a desperate attempt to escape the weight of his crimes?
It's a stark reminder that there's often so much more going on beneath the surface than we might initially perceive. And sometimes the courtroom becomes a stage for these incredibly powerful displays of emotion, not just from the convicted, but from the victims' families as well.
Absolutely.
Take, for instance, the case of Trey Redford, convicted of murdering a pizza delivery driver.
Tragic. Absolutely tragic.
What makes Redford's case stand out is the victim's father. What he did, it was extraordinary.
Extraordinary is an understatement.
He publicly forgave Redford. Imagine finding that kind of compassion, that capacity for forgiveness in the face of such unimaginable loss.
It's almost beyond comprehension. It really makes you question what drives a person to forgive such a horrific act.
It's a question that speaks to something fundamental about human nature. Is it rooted in faith? A desperate need for healing? Or something else entirely?
It's a question without easy answers. But it's in those moments of radical forgiveness, in the face of unimaginable pain, that we see the potential for something truly remarkable, something that transcends the courtroom, transcends even the crime itself.
It suggests that even in the darkest of places, the human spirit is capable of incredible acts of grace.
It's incredible, right?
In that courtroom, you see the whole spectrum of human emotion just laid bare.
It's true.
We've talked about cold calculation, desperate avoidance, but then there are cases that just defy easy explanation.
The ones that stick with you.
Exactly. Cases that haunt you long after that gavel falls.
Those are the cases that force us to confront, the darkest parts of human behavior, the ones that make you question what drives a person to do something so horrific.
And sometimes the reaction to the sentencing is just as unsettling as the crime itself.
It's true.
Like the case of Isabel Martinez. This is a woman who murdered her husband and her 5 children.
Oh, that's awful.
But during her sentencing, she smiled and gave a thumbs up.
I don't even know what to say to that.
How do you even begin to process that?
It's the kind of reaction that just sends chills down your spine, right?
Okay.
On the surface, it seems completely incongruent with the gravity of what she did. And I think that's what's so disturbing about it.
It's like, is this mental illness? A complete break from reality? Or is it something else?
It really makes you wonder.
And then you have the case of Luis Bracamontes, killed 2 officers. And throughout his trial and sentencing, it was like he thought it was all one big joke.
Oh, I remember that case.
Laughing, making threats, even turning on his own lawyers.
It was almost like he was putting on a show, wasn't it? Like he was trying to control the narrative, even with the legal process unfolding around him.
It's like, is that a strategy? Or is it something more primal than that? Something beyond any rational explanation?
Well, and that's the question, right? Is this calculated manipulation? Or is there a deeper psychosis driving this behavior? And maybe it's a combination of both. But these are individuals who often thrive on notoriety. They crave that attention, even while they're facing those ultimate consequences.
But amidst all these unsettling cases, all this darkness, there are also cases that offer a glimmer of hope. Cases that remind us about the immense weight of justice, how it can crush a person, but in some instances, lead to a profound reckoning.
A kind of transformation.
Exactly.
But that transformation, that takes years, sometimes even decades to unfold.
That's a long time.
It is. Take the case of Daniel Villegas. Wrongfully imprisoned at 16.
16. That's so young.
He was finally exonerated after 18 long years. Can you imagine that moment, that feeling when that word exonerated echoes through the courtroom?
Oh, the relief. To go from utter despair to such profound hope just like that. To have your life back after so long.
But what about the psychological toll? What does it take to rebuild a life after that, especially when it's been shattered by such a profound miscarriage of justice?
It's a unique kind of trauma. It's not just the years lost, the opportunities missed, but it's the constant assault on your identity, your sense of self.
Like, who am I?
Exactly. And the psychological scars, they run deep.
PTSD.
Anxiety, a deep mistrust of authority. It's understandable. And for a lot of these exonerees, the road to healing, it's long, it's arduous, it's full of obstacles, setbacks.
It makes you think.
Yeah.
About the justice system. It's designed to be impartial, but
it's still run by humans.
Exactly. And humans, well, we make mistakes.
And those mistakes, they have consequences.
Sometimes devastating ones. But even in those dark corners of the justice system, even when faced with such cruelty, you still see these glimmers of, well...
Of hope.
Yeah, hope, of something profoundly human.
You're talking about forgiveness. I am. And maybe the best example, the case that really highlights this, is Gary Ridgway.
The Green River Killer.
Yeah, responsible for the deaths of at least 48 women. I mean, those crimes, they shocked everyone. But during his sentencing...
Something remarkable happened.
To say the least. One of the victims' family members, they addressed Ridgway directly.
And offered him forgiveness.
Forgiveness. It makes you think, how do you even begin to process that kind of loss and still find it in yourself
to forgive?
To forgive. It's like, where does that even come from? That level of compassion, of empathy after something so horrific.
It's a question that challenges everything, doesn't it? Our understanding of justice, of revenge, of what it means to heal.
It suggests that maybe, just maybe, even in the deepest darkness, there's still a capacity for change, for redemption.
It's a powerful thought.
And for Ridgway, it seems like that single act, that completely selfless act of forgiveness, it had an impact. He talked about how it chipped away at this wall he'd built around himself. It forced him to confront the reality, the horror of what he'd done.
Wow.
It's a chilling reminder that even in those dark places, the human spirit can find a way to connect, to heal.
It speaks to the power of empathy, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. It doesn't excuse the actions, of course not, but it offers this tiny glimmer of hope, a reminder that maybe, just maybe, no one is beyond redemption.
There's a lot to process.
It really is. We've covered some heavy, heavy stuff today. The indifference, the avoidance, the theatrics, the wrongful imprisonment. We've seen how the courtroom can be this crucible, a place where every facet of human nature is put on display.
And it makes you question things.
It makes you question everything.
What do we really know about justice, about guilt, about what it means to be human? It's a lot to unpack.
It is, but I think that's what makes these dives so fascinating, so thought-provoking. We're not just looking at cases, we're looking at the human heart, trying to understand it.
The complexities, the contradictions.
The potential for both good and evil.
It's a lot to wrap your head around.
It really is. And on that note, thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the world of courtroom sentencing. It's been quite a journey.
It has.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and as always, keep diving deep.